If you've ever pulled your hand out of freezing marsh water to grab a decoy and felt that instant ache in your fingers, you know exactly why the right glove matters more than almost any other piece of waterfowl gear. A bad pair leaves you cold, distracted, and rushing your shots. A good pair disappears on your hands and lets you focus on the birds. I dug through every review on the 6 gloves in this roundup and ranked them by how many hunters have actually put them to the test in the field. Links to everything are in the description. Let's get into it. Starting the list at number 6 is the AUSCAMOTEK, a 5mm thick neoprene gauntlet built specifically for the grind of setting and pulling decoys in icy water. The thickness here is the standout spec, since most competitors on this list run thinner. That extra material means more insulation, but it also means less dexterity, so keep that trade-off in mind if you're planning to shoot while wearing them, rather than just handling gear. The glove uses a stretchable spandex lining laminated into the neoprene for a snugger fit across different hand sizes, and the elastic cuff is designed to stop the glove from sliding off mid-task. The long gauntlet sleeves extend well past the wrist, which several hunters found useful for reaching into deeper water without soaking their forearms. The grid-textured palm is meant to grip wet decoy lines and slippery gear, and one longtime buyer said he replaces a pair every year before duck season specifically because they hold up well against repeated dunking, though he learned the hard way not to dry them near a heater since the seam glue is heat-activated and fails if overheated. Another hunter praised how dry his hands and arms stayed while grabbing a wet retriever and running the mud motor, calling them warm without feeling bulky. Not every experience was smooth. A handful of buyers found the interior seams rough enough to scrape their fingers, and one parent buying for his son said the hard seam sealant rubbed uncomfortably and that the gloves leaked more than expected, calling them a bit too stiff overall. Another reviewer reported multiple leak points appearing after less than half a season, saying the thin glue construction tore under regular movement. So while the praise leans toward reliable warmth and a loyal repeat buyer base, the durability complaints are common enough to note. With 212 reviews, the AUSCAMOTEK earns its spot at the bottom of this list on sheer volume alone. It's a dependable, budget-friendly option, but the next glove on our list already has more hunters vouching for it, plus a touchscreen-friendly design and a windproof softshell build that this one simply doesn't offer. Stick around because it only gets more interesting from here. Climbing to number 5 is the Manzella Coyote, and this glove takes a completely different approach than the neoprene gauntlet we just covered. Instead of a thick rubbery shell, Manzella built this one from a 3-ply softshell with spandex woven in for a snug, flexible fit, backed by a 40-gram thinsulate layer that keeps bulk down while still trapping heat. That's a meaningful upgrade in dexterity over the AUSCAMOTEK, since softshell gloves let you actually feel your gun and calls rather than fumbling through thick neoprene. The Hydroblock waterproof and windproof membrane is the other headline feature here, designed to block wind and water from getting in while still letting sweat vapor escape so your hands don't get clammy on a long sit. It's also touchscreen compatible at the fingertips, which the AUSCAMOTEK doesn't offer, and it includes a scent control coating aimed at keeping the gloves fresher between hunts. One hunter said these kept his hands warm and comfortably dry during a waterfowl outing, while another buyer called them comfortable, warm, and dry-handed, even in extended use. A hunter in northern Saskatchewan reported wearing these through 2 full months of genuinely brutal cold without ever feeling his hands go numb, enough that he was ready to order a second pair on the strength of that performance alone. The complaint that comes up most often involves the inner liner separating from the shell when you pull the glove off, which several buyers found frustrating, especially picturing trying to realign finger holes in freezing conditions in the dark. A few others noted the fingertip seams bunch up fabric in a way that makes the touchscreen feature less precise than they'd like, and one reviewer felt the bulk limited fine dexterity more than expected. Warmth ratings were mixed too, with some buyers saying the mid-tier warmth level underperformed compared to gloves marketed as warmer. At 231 reviews, the Manzella edges out the AUSCAMOTEK not just on review count, but on genuine feature advantages. Touchscreen fingertips, a windproof membrane, and a fit-forward softshell design built for shooters who need real trigger control. But the next glove up jumps to well over 450 reviews and brings something neither of these gloves has: a fingerless design built specifically for anyone who needs full finger dexterity without ever removing a glove. That one's worth the wait. At number 4, we've got the EAmber, and the fingerless conversion design is what separates it from everything we've covered so far. The thumb, index, and middle fingertips fold back and secure with Velcro, so you can text, work a call, or handle small gear without stripping the whole glove off. Something waterfowlers juggling phones, decoys, and shot shells in the cold will genuinely appreciate. The double-layer fabric includes a built-in waterproof layer while still staying breathable, and the palm and index finger are reinforced with anti-slip silicone mesh for gripping wet gear. The adjustable Velcro wrist strap lets you cinch the fit and keep cold air from sneaking in at the cuff, and buyers consistently point to the versatility of this glove beyond just duck hunting. It shows up in reviews from archery, general upland hunting, and even everyday cold weather tasks. One hunter said these kept his hands warm through a cold Indiana winter and held up well to repeated use without tearing, even while working his fingers in and out of a trigger guard. Another buyer with small hands said the medium size fit her perfectly for both bow and rifle hunting, and she was impressed with the quality relative to the price. A third reviewer specifically praised them for bird hunting in mild fall conditions, noting they were lightweight enough not to feel bulky in the blind. The trade-off buyers mention most is warmth sealing. Several were clear these are built for cool mornings rather than genuinely frigid late-season hunts, with a handful calling them just adequate once temperatures drop toward single digits. Fit ran small for some buyers who ended up sizing up, and the fingertip Velcro closures were called into question by one reviewer who wasn't confident in how securely they held. With 459 reviews, the EAmber pulls ahead of the Manzella on pure volume and adds genuine functional flexibility with its convertible fingerless design that neither of the first two gloves on this list can match. But the next glove jumps past 500 reviews and brings back the full waterproof neoprene gauntlet approach, this time with a pre-curved finger design built specifically to reduce hand fatigue during long sits. That's a detail worth sticking around for. Number 3 brings us to the Glacier Glove Pro Waterfowler. And this is where we start seeing a brand built almost entirely around cold water outdoor gear rather than general hunting apparel. Glacier Glove has been refining neoprene gloves since the early 1980s, and that experience shows in the details here. The Pro Waterfowler uses 2mm fleece-lined neoprene with a seamless palm design, touch-right fingertips for better trigger feel, and a pre-curved finger shape that's meant to reduce hand fatigue by matching your hand's natural resting position rather than forcing your fingers straight. That pre-curved design is a real step up from the flat-cut gloves earlier on this list, since a glove that already matches your grip shape means less strain over a long sit. The mossy oak shadow grass blades pattern is aimed squarely at concealment in marsh environments, and the 100% waterproof claim held up for most buyers. One reviewer said the fleece lining kept him warm enough to run a tiller in cold conditions without discomfort, and another mentioned using them for ice fishing on top of standard waterfowl duties, praising how contoured they felt compared to flatter gloves he'd tried before. A hunter who bought a second pair for his father after letting him borrow the first said his dad ended up ordering 2 more, which says something about how quickly these win people over once tried. The most common criticism involves fit consistency. One buyer with small hands found even a large size uncomfortably tight, and another felt the interior material marketed as fleece felt closer to a thin felt lining than true fleece. A few buyers also said the warmth level fell short in genuinely harsh conditions, with one describing his fingers going cold within roughly 90 minutes at 23 degrees with wind-driven sleet. That's a fair warning if you're hunting the coldest stretches of late season. At 525 reviews, the Pro Waterfowler edges past the EAmber with a more purpose-built waterfowl design, a proven decades-old brand behind it, and that ergonomic pre-curved fit. But the next glove on our list is a close cousin from the same brand family, with nearly 50 more reviews, an elbow-length gauntlet design, and a texture on the palm that several buyers compared directly to sharkskin for grip. Number 2 is the DecoyPro, and the elbow-length gauntlet design is the clear differentiator here compared to the wrist-length gloves earlier on this list. Built for setting and breaking down a full decoy spread, these gloves are designed to slide over your jacket sleeve for a sealed fit, keeping water out even when you're reaching well below the surface. The 5mm neoprene interior lining is thick and insulated, and the textured grip surface across the fingers and palm is specifically shaped to hold onto decoy lines and anchors as you work them into place. Buyers consistently point to how well these perform for exactly the task they're built for. One reviewer used them during cold water maintenance work at a water treatment plant with 50-degree river water flowing through and said the insulation made an uncomfortable job genuinely manageable. Another hunter said the contoured, non-flat design made a noticeable difference in cold weather compared to flatter decoy gloves he'd used before, and specifically praised how the glove stops right at the crease of the elbow for effortless decoy retrieval. A buyer who bought 2 pairs over 2 years mentioned the fit works especially well for larger hands, calling them warm, well-built, and a strong value for the price. The recurring issue across reviews is durability at the fingertips, where the outer rubber layer has been reported to peel away after limited use, leading to leaks. One buyer who purchased two separate pairs over 2 years said both developed leaks within just a couple of hunts. Stitching roughness inside the glove was also flagged by a few users, with one recommending wearing a thin liner glove underneath to avoid irritation. Despite those concerns, the overall sentiment leans strongly positive, particularly around warmth and value. With 574 reviews, the DecoyPro pulls ahead of the Pro Waterfowler thanks to its dedicated elbow-length gauntlet build and specialized decoy handling grip texture. But our number one glove has nearly double the review count of anything else on this list, plus a sharkskin textured palm and a blind stitched and glued construction method specifically engineered to outperform standard stitched seams on water resistance. That's the one worth waiting for. Taking the top spot is the Glacier Glove Illusion, and when a glove pulls in 678 reviews while maintaining a 4.4-star average, it's earned that trust through repeated field use across an enormous range of hunters. What sets the Illusion apart from every other glove on this list is its blind-stitched and glued seam construction, a technique that avoids fully piercing the fabric during assembly, which meaningfully cuts down on the pinhole leaks that plague standard stitched gloves. Combined with a seamless sharkskin textured palm for grip and touch-right low-friction fingertips for smoother trigger control, this glove was clearly engineered by people who understood exactly what fails on cheaper alternatives. The 2mm fleece-lined neoprene strikes a real balance between warmth and flexibility, and the Realtree Max 7 camo pattern is built specifically for concealment in dense cover rather than open water. One buyer called it the best glove he'd found after a long search, saying the fully waterproof construction made picking up decoys from a late-season marsh effortless, and that pairing it with a hand-warmer pouch kept his hands genuinely warm rather than just tolerably cold. Another hunter who wears these while driving his duck boat said wind and water simply don't affect him anymore, describing the grip as almost tacky in the best way, even though the neoprene does limit finger movement enough that he wouldn't try to shoot in them. A third buyer used them for a 30-minute bike commute in temperatures as low as 5 degrees and reported his fingers stayed warm the entire ride, which speaks to just how much heat this glove retains. The most common critique involves seam durability under repeated stress, with a few buyers noting some tearing at the palm after just a couple of uses, and others mentioning that once the interior gets wet, it can take an extended period to fully dry out. A handful of reviewers also said the fit runs snug enough that sizing up from your usual glove size is worth considering, especially if you plan to layer a thin glove underneath. Across nearly 700 reviews, the consistent through line is that the Illusion delivers on warmth, grip, and water resistance better than any other glove in this roundup, and it does so with a specialized construction method that genuinely sets it apart from the field. If you're gearing up for late-season duck or goose hunting and want the glove with the deepest track record behind it, this is the one to start with. Links to every glove on this list are in the description below. If you want maximum dexterity for calling and shooting, go back and take a look at the EAmber at number 4. But if you're after the most proven, most trusted glove for cold water decoy work, the Illusion at number 1 is the clear choice.